Mönchshof Original Pils.
And remember, life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I have got one from Germany today, and it is the Mönchshof Original Pils. Got this from Beers of Europe. Never tried it before. Don't know much about the brewery. I've heard of them. Never tried one of their beers. Apparently they do a really nice Keller beer, which gets very good reviews, but I have never tried that. Maybe it's next on the list if this Pils is any good. Quick bit about the history of this brewery. They've been going originally since 1349. That was when they started off as a monastery, and it's that old thing, that old marketing thing that they love in Europe about the monastery. If you look at the label, you'll see a friar or a monk on the front, and he's giving it the big one with a glass of beer, or a stein of beer if you like. And they do go back to 1349, that is undeniable. But from 1803, the region, they're originally from, I think it's Franconia, which is northern Bavaria. That region was secularized, and the monasteries, etc., brewing beer, that was taken over. And you know, it didn't have the monastic feel to it like it did previously. And in the late 1800s, this brewery were doing really well. They were going all over the world and winning awards for their beer. And apparently the reputation that they had was really good. And they were brewing, their output was, quite big, comparatively big for the time. And of course they just kept producing beer. They were hit hard by the recession in Germany after the First World War, and I think it was 1923. 1 hectolitre of beer. Now you got to remember, like, a lot of breweries are outputting millions of hectolitres. Some really successful breweries are outputting billions of hectolitres. But 1 hectolitre back in 1923, in the middle of the height, it was the height of the German recession, 1 hectolitre cost 1 billion marks. That is fucking insane. 1 billion marks. And of course, I don't want to go too much about the history of Germany, but straight after World War One, Germany hit a recession big times, and that was because of all the, the reparations that the Allies had imposed on Germany after all the damage they said they'd done during the First World War. They made Germany pay for all the damage, and it fucking ruined the country. The people were destitute. There was no jobs. The inflation had gone through the roof. It was absolutely insane, and of course it laid the foundations for the rise of Nazism and communism in Germany. And as they say, in the 30s, the rest is history. But just a little snapshot of that. One hectolitre of that. Not that stuff, it would have been their original beer. That was 1 billion marks, which is just insane. That's incomprehensible. I have heard stories, though, of a woman who, going to buy bread, she had to bring a whole big basket full of money, and it was filled up with notes, and she left it on the street, and somebody had emptied all the money out and stolen the basket, because the basket was worth more than the money inside. It's just fucking insane. We can't comprehend what that's like. Anyway, I'm going way off topic here. I've got to stop fucking talking about history when I'm reviewing these beers, but it gives you a little bit of context about what was going on. Anyway, yeah, and they were brewing ever since. Obviously, Second World War affected them as well, but in 1984 they were taken over by the Kulmbacher Brewery. Now, I've reviewed some of their beers. Kulmbacher, and they own quite a few labels. They're a bit like Marston's. That's the only way I can sort of explain what they're like. You know, they own quite a few breweries, but they put out their beer under their own name. For example, they put out the Mönchshof stuff. There's quite a few Mönchshof beers that they put out. Eku is another German brewery that they took over. They put out all their stuff. Of course, they put out all the Kulmbacher stuff, which was what they were originally brewing. And they also put out I think is it Kapuzinger? I think it's pronounced, another German brewery. But that's what they do. They're like Kulmbacher are like an umbrella company, like Marston's. Kulmbacher there, of course, is on the label. So even though it says Mönchshof are not the brewery. That is just the name of it. Anyway, now we've got that out of the way, and all the history as well. I've said my piece. Let's get onto the beer. Right, this is a 500ml bottle. It's 4.9%. Everything's in German, of course, coming from Bavaria. This conforms to the Reinheitsgebot. There's the label. That's a hand-drawn label, believe it or not. All the monks, when they were brewing this stuff, they used to hand-draw their own labels. I don't mean that's hand-drawn. The design is hand-drawn. Obviously, you haven't got some little bod with a fucking pencil punting out all these fucking labels, you know. That'd just be insane, wouldn't it? But yeah, and the flip-top bottle, of course, isn't unique to that brewery. That was only introduced in 1998 for this stuff, and this stuff actually goes back to 1992. It's only been brewed since 1992, so there you go. It looks very old, it looks very traditional, but really that particular beer has only been going since 1992. Doesn't matter. Let's see what it tastes like. What's the plop like? Not bad. Not bad at all. Get it in the glass. Now this is a Pilsner. It's not Helles. It is a Pilsner, so I'm expecting some dry notes on this. And of course this has got Hallertau hops in it, as you would expect from a Bavarian beer. That seems to be the beer of choice. They use local malts in this as well. So it's a very local affair.
This is a local shop for local people. There's nothing for you here.
There it is in the glass. Looks very nice. Fair bit of carbonation on that. Very light straw, golden straw colour. What are we getting on the nose? Smells quite nice actually. Sweet malt. Grainy sweet malt. A little spicy note on it. And a little touch of lemon citrus. It does smell promising, I will say that. And of course, you should know the story now about all the shit beers. Well, not shit beers, but the beers that had no aroma and flavour that I reviewed yesterday. I seriously thought I had COVID, but I tried a Belgian dark beer today, and faith was restored. There we go. There it is in the glass. Looks really nice. Looks really tempting, and I am gasping for a beer. So let's get this down my fat Gregory. Zum Wohl, as they say in Germany. And that isn't bad. That is quite nice. I really wasn't expecting much, because I made the comparison earlier with Marston's, and my experience is when you find brewers that do that, they take over certain breweries, there's a very select few beers that these brewers that have been taken over do that are really good. And certainly I think it's the case with Marston's. And I had visions of this being a very, very average Pils. but it's quite nice. Let me dive in again. I'll give you the flavours. That is really good because I'm getting the sweet, malty flavours that you would expect from them German Pilsner and Munich malts that you get in the Helles beers. But on top of that, you've got the bitter and dry, spicy finish of them Hallertau hops, which you should get in a Pilsner, in my opinion. Helles's are, I find, a lot sweeter, and they real thirst quenchers. The Pilsners, certainly in North Germany, it's more pronounced in northern Germany, but Bavarian Pilsners, they've got a little subtleness going on there, but the hop character does come through. I had that with the Weihenstephaner Pils. That really did taste good. You could get the herbal notes, the coriander. In this, you're getting them sweet notes. You're getting the herbal and grassy notes in there as well from the Hallertau hops. And on the finish, you're getting a nice, spicy black pepper. I always liken it to black pepper because it's bitter. And you get my taste buds are picking that up as black pepper because I absolutely love black pepper. I throw that into everything that I cook because you just cannot beat a bit of pepper, and it's harmless. It won't do you any harm as long as you don't fucking guzzle peppercorns. But I do get that from that bitter finish, and it's really nice. It's got a perfect balance of bitterness and sweetness, and I like that. That is really nice. It's surprisingly good. And the reason it's surprisingly good, as I mentioned before, I didn't have high hopes for this, but I love it. I love it.
I will love it. Love it.
But I love it when you're not expecting much from a beer and it really surprises you. I tend to get that from Belgian beers a lot, where the label looks really cheap and the name is just fucking ridiculous, and you taste the beer and it's absolutely gorgeous. But this stuff is really good. Really like that. And again, I do get a bit wary about this, the whole monastery thing that's going on. Now, don't get me wrong. If I'm not mistaken, the real Trappist brewers don't have a picture of any monks on their bottles. I think I'm right in saying that. If I'm wrong, please put it in the comments, but I'm pretty sure they don't do that. They don't need to. It's like, that old saying, the more you know, the less you need to show. So you get a lot of other companies who've got a very tenuous link to a monastery, way back in their history, and they just fucking kick the arse out of it. The Belgians and the Germans especially do this. Not so much over here. You don't get British brewers doing that. But in Germany and Belgium, for sure, you really do. And when I see that, I always think, it's that old, I like to call it a penis extension, because, it's like you need to sell your beer. But the Trappist brewers don't do that. But other brewers do. So my point being is, when I see these pictures of monks on the bottles, I sort of, the defences go up and the alarm bells start ringing. But this one, I have to say, is a really good one. I actually really do like this. Oh, it's a lovely balance of real sweet malt on the initial mouthful, and then the hop bitterness hits right at the end. And that is what a German Pilsner should be. That is really nice. I cannot get over how nice this is. This is a real surprise for me. Absolutely lovely. So what's the verdict on Mönchshof Original Pils? Well, to be honest, I really didn't think much of this. Yeah, it's from Bavaria. yeah, it conforms to the Reinheitsgebot, so it's got a few things going in its favour already. As I mentioned, you know, the whole monastery thing, it doesn't really cut any ice with me at all. The proof for me is in the tasting. And I'll tell you something, that is really good. I'd say it's one of the best German Pilsners I've tasted. And that's a personal thing, because, as I say, North German Pilsners and Southern German Pilsners, they do taste different. The North German Pilsners, I tend to find are very bitter. They've got a dry finish, and they do have that harsh bitterness that puts some people off. This, in my opinion, is the perfect balance between sweetness and bitterness. And of course, I love German, especially Bavarian Helleses. And this is sort of, you know, you're lulled into a false sense of security. You think you're drinking a Helles, and then all of a sudden, the Pilsner character kicks in from all them Hallertau hops that are put in here. And that is a real nice beer. So much so, I'm going to give that a 10 out of 10. Because it's really good. I could drink fucking gallons of that stuff. And yes, I will be buying this again. And it's really good. I really recommend this. Do you know what? I really didn't have high hopes for this at all. I went from, you know, thinking I had COVID because I couldn't taste any beers. You know, all the 4 beers that I tried yesterday had no flavour at all. And then you get something like this coming on. And I picked it out of the fridge and I really didn't think much was going to happen. I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, you know, this is going to be another cheap German knockoff. It's got the monastery thing going on, and you know, it's just going to be, yeah, very nice, boring lager, conforms to the Reinheitsgebot, yeah, little bit of flavour, fucking what, 7 out of 10. But it's not. It's a hell of a lot more than that. Lovely sweet malt, real nice hop character, noble hop character from the Hallertau hops. It's the perfect Pilsner for me. So that is why it's a 10 out of 10. I definitely urge you to try and get some of this, because it is fucking amazing. And remember, beer is working class champagne.